My name is Osler Peterson, and I want to welcome you all here. We're celebrating extraordinary volunteers. We had 19 individuals suggested this year for their service to the town of Medfield and all sorts of places. And we're just very happy to celebrate all 19 of these individuals who did a vast variety of fascinating things. But let me give you a quick thumbnail sketch of the Medfield Foundation, first of all. The Medfield Foundation started in 2001. It came about at sort of a confluence of like-minded people thinking that there might be an opportunity in Medfield for private giving for public purposes. And it turned out that there was, in fact, such a need, and the Medfield Foundation has raised over $1.2 million in the 10 years that it's been in existence. The major projects that it did were the evergreen field at the high school, the track and the bleachers at the high school, the Dale Street playground, and then there's just a numerous smaller tasks that it has done every year, like one of my favorites, of course, is the Medfield Night Fireworks. But they're just all sorts of things that are made easier and made possible by the existence of the Medfield Foundation in our community. Well, so that's the Medfield Foundation. 10 years, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. Kevin Hearn, who's in the back of the room standing there, was our president for 10 years and just resigned this past year. Created this great organization with he and his wife Cindy, who was the attorney for most of that time for the foundation. So you have this excellent organization that basically just raises money for the town and allows people to raise money for whatever they're looking for. Then Leanne LaBelle came up with the idea when the schools were opening that it would be nice to celebrate volunteers. And it was sort of this confluence of the schools wanting to celebrate the fact that the town had built $56 million worth of schools for the town, and Leanne wanting to have an event to celebrate volunteerism. And so that the Medfield Foundation had an event right after the schools opened. A symphony orchestra came and played at what is now the Lowell Mason Auditorium, and it was called a Symphony of Community Support, I believe, Leanne. That was to celebrate volunteerism. Then, 4 years ago, in 2008, the Medfield Foundation decided that, well, it would really be nice to single out volunteers in Medfield. And so that in 2008, the Medfield Foundation honored Henry Marcel, who's on the wall over here. He was the first volunteer of the year. That year, the Medfield Foundation just picked Henry and said, Henry has done a huge amount for the town, and we should recognize him and appreciate him. Then after that, that year, I mean, this is an iterative process. We're working this out as we go along. The second year, we decided, well, it would be nice to let the people in town suggest people, and so that's what we did. We put out requests to everybody, and we got in about 24 people were suggested the first year, 2009. I'll see, it's one of the posters around here. And one of the things that was really wonderful that year was to discover that half of the people that got suggested for recognition as volunteers were high school kids. It was so dramatic that we then created I told you, it's an iterative process we're figuring out as we go along. And so that we immediately created a Youth Volunteer of the Year category. And ever since then, we've had a Youth Volunteer of the Year. Tessa Khomeini was the first Youth Volunteer of the Year. Last year it was Jack McDermott. And then this year it's, of course, Deirdre Walsh. And this year, as I say, 19 individuals suggested by people who actually took the time to put together some materials to describe what these extraordinary people were doing. In 2009, the Volunteer of the Year was Gary Wheeler for all of his work with the Scouts, and Tessa Khomeini, who she'd started some sort of volunteer thing for kids in the high school at SOS. Something about service, I don't remember exactly, but it's on one of the posters around. If you look at there's Tessa's posters over there. If you look at it, you'll see exactly what SOS stands for. And then last year it was Edie O'Toole, who's sitting here in the front. Edie has just been doing things for decades and decades, and so she was a very easy choice. And then Jack McDermott, who had done, despite his young age, had done huge amounts of things as well. So it's basically just morphed and evolved over time into just a get-together to thank the people in Medfield who have done extraordinary things. We're going to start off with Scott McDermott, who has become our annual speaker on volunteerism. And Medfield Foundation thought that Scott was so good at it that we actually recruited he and Kelly to be on the board of the Medfield Foundation. So Scott, if you want to talk about volunteerism.
Well, thank you all for coming out and welcome and congratulations to all the nominees. I'm going to keep this very brief. We have a lot of folks to speak, but it's really my job just to kind of on behalf of the town to really to thank everyone and to recognize everyone. And I was trying to think about commonality of all of our nominees, and there's a saying that you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. And so I think one of the commonalities is all of the folks who have been nominated, our winners, our past winners. These are the people who are givers. And I think we all might recognize that in life, not to be to draw too sharp of a black line, but there are givers and there are takers. And the commonality is that the people who are recognized here by the Medfield Foundation are the givers. And the second commonality is Oscar Wilde has a saying that the smallest act is worth the grandest intention. And I think another big distinguishing characteristic of all of our nominees, all of these great volunteers, is that these are people who act. They do it. These are the folks who, a lot of us have intentions to do good things all the time, but the people who are being recognized today are the people who, take those intentions and somehow they engineer them into action. And that's what I think is so distinguishing and so worthy of being recognized. I think all the time about what distinguishes the town of Medfield. I'm one of those people that think this is a very, very special place, and great schools and our open space. But when you think about all of the activities that go on in town, in our schools, our youth sports, our churches, most of them are driven by volunteer activity, and so probably more than any of the other characteristics that make this such a great town, it's the willingness of people to commit their time and their energy and their skills, putting them to action and to be volunteers. And finally, in terms of just in terms of recognition, recognition has a couple of values to it. It's to thank all of these people who are so deserving, but we hope it's also to motivate and to continue to motivate all the people in town to continue to volunteer, because that is what makes it's such a great place. And so we recognize them. I know that our winners would say that they're standing here today, on behalf of all of the people that are nominated. And I've talked to a number of those folks who have been nominated, and I know that you would say that you're here today on behalf of all the people that you've worked with in the organizations that you've been a part of. There's many, many people who are not nominated and who may not be recognized, but who make tremendous contributions in this town. So in some ways, we're all here in just a kind of a symbolic way on behalf of all of the people in town that make such a big difference. Finally, just to end, with a couple of quotes. One of my favorites is a Margaret Mead quote. She says, "Never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And so the folks who are here today, the nominated folks, are that small group who are time over time changing the world. And then a quote that I used, but I saw that it was on the slide back there. It says, "Finally remember, although volunteers are seldom paid, it is not because they are worthless, it's because they are priceless." And so I think that quote applies to all of the folks, again, who are here today. So congratulations to everyone, and thank you on behalf of the town of Medfield. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Scott. I just wanted to recognize some of the special dignitaries that we have here today. We do have our new representatives. Our Dan Winslow is here. Our Selectmen Ann Thompson and Mark Fisher here. We congratulate Mark on winning his election tomorrow. And we have our town administrator in the back, Mike Sullivan. Thank you all for coming. So at this point, we just wanted to turn the podium over to the people that made nominations, and I'm just going to run through in the order that I kept them as, and this is basically the order in which people got nominated this year. So that if Chris Potts and Bill Pope want to come forward and just talk about what Bill has done at the Zulu Gallery over, how many years is it, Bill? 20 years? 21?
I have a very long list of why I nominated Bill Pope, who's the Zulu Gallery director, with the biggest one being it's been a 23-year commitment since it was founded in 1988, after he made a unbelievable deal with Mrs. Zulu, the building owner, for $200 rent per month, which lasted how long ago? Like 14 years or something like that? Yeah. So it was a good deal. Over the years, many of you have probably heard other people say this, but town leaders have repeatedly said that the Zulu Gallery has not only helped bolster an appreciation for the arts among all ages here in Medfield and beyond, but it's a presence that greatly enhances the vibrancy of our downtown area, and all on a shoestring budget, I must say. Then there's also the numbers, which do a really good job of illustrating Bill's successful leadership of the Zulu Gallery. Consider this: 100 exhibits and 200 other events, whether it's live music, art classes, poetry readings, 2,500 participating artists and musicians, many of them Medfield residents, students, alumni, and faculty members, 20,000 visitors, and it's estimated that Bill has spent about 24,000 volunteer hours to the gallery. And I've done some work in this area, and there's actually a group called the Independent Sector that does value volunteer hours. And they assign a per hour rate for volunteers. And if I look at all the volunteers getting nominated today, if we were combine them together, it would be about $1 billion. But for Bill's contribution to the Zulu in over 23 years, it's about $370,000 worth of volunteer hours, which is pretty huge. But the sheer numbers only tell part of the story. There's the personal value that community members place on Bill's efforts. Former Medfield teacher Nancy Featherman considers Bill a visionary, a dreamer, someone who has the persistency to make his dream of the Medfield Gallery a reality. And Susan Parker, who's in the back of the room, I thought I saw her, a Medfield artist, former elementary school art teacher, who's been on the Zulu board since the founding, and who has known Bill as a teacher at Dale Street for more than 30 years, said it best. Bill is the idea man, the space designer, the resource for artists, the picture hanger, the party planner, and more. He's added something unique and enlivening to Medfield Center, where we all can see great art and hear good music. And now, thanks to Bill, the oversight of recent renovations, she says we can sit on the deck on a summer night and know we're somewhere special.
That was awfully nice. It sounds like so much work and everything, but you do it because you love it. It doesn't seem like a lot of work, and you get a lot of great response from people, who are part of the project also. And first of all, I would like to, of course, thank Chris and thank the Medfield Foundation for putting this on. But, the gallery is a huge volunteer project, and there have been many people, hundreds, thousands of people who volunteered there. We're open on weekends only because we have volunteers. And there's a few people I'd like to mention. For example, this is going back, again, 22, 23 years. Martha Moon, Frank Iafola, Susan Parker, Nancy Devono, Jerry Berganzi, Jill Moran, board members Tim Nugent, Dan Phillips. These people have dedicated tons and tons of time and effort towards raising funds and volunteering and keeping the gallery going. And I could go on and on. We're staffed on the weekends, as I mentioned, by volunteers, and that includes high school students, artists, community members, and so it's a great volunteer project. But it is a work in progress. We've been here for 23 years. We've accomplished a lot, but our goal has always been to be open full time. And towards that end, we're still trying to raise funds to build a handicapped accessible elevator and bathroom off the back of the gallery, and turn our small room into a kitchen. And we could tremendously broaden our audience and the people who know about the gallery and see the exhibits and so forth. So we're very happy with all the volunteerism that people have helped us with over the years. And we have great things that we would still like to do. So thank you very much for listening, for being here. Thank you for all your volunteering. And if you get the chance to come by the gallery, see an exhibit, sit out on the deck, we'd love to have you.
The zoo is really one of those delightful discoveries in Medfield that really enhances the quality of life here. The quality of your life in Medfield is really the sum of all these things that we're talking about that people are volunteering on. The next one is Jeanne Sanfilippo and Kelly McDermott.
Hi, I'm Kelly McDermott, and thank you all for being here. I nominated Jeanne Sanfilippo, my friend and partner in crime and all these volunteer things. I met Jeanne back about 13 years ago when our kids were in 5th grade. So it was a long time ago when Jeanne started to recruit me to help out with all-night graduation party at the high school. And this was before we had kids that were even in high school that Jeanne was recruiting. Where there was a need, there was Jeanne, and so she stepped right in. For those of you who may not know what the all-night graduation party is all about, it's a special all-night party for our high school seniors where we transform the whole high school into a special secret theme, and the kids get to go there after graduation and have a fun, safe night. It takes months and months of organizing, armies of volunteers for 6 months, 1 week a night, people volunteer their time, and as we know, every volunteer organization needs a leader, and that was Jeanne. So Jeanne stepped in. She's been spearheading All Night Grad for about a decade. She finally handed over the reins this past year when her daughter graduated, Lauren, last year. But in addition to All Night Graduation, Jeanne also did CSA at the school. She did the boosters. She did the fashion show. So wherever there was a need in the school, Jeanne was always an institution along with that. And it really is with the All Night Grad tradition that Jeanne left an indelible mark. She was ultra organized, always calm and assertive. She was that kind of a leader that was always there, but you never really knew she was there, but had countless hours of time organizing people and supplies to get the job done. I recently calculated that Jeanne has touched the lives of approximately 2,000 high school graduates. So 2,000 kids, Jeanne has made that night memorable and special, one of the most special nights for these high school seniors as they leave the school. In Jeanne's words, to see the faces of the kids at 5 a.m. in the hallways of the school when the party is all over on a Monday morning, as it hits them that this is their last high school experience with their friends and their classmates, and how grateful they are that they were given this incredible send-off. Made it all worthwhile. Jeanne has been a volunteer extraordinaire, and I'd like to congratulate Jeanne for being nominated.
I have little notes because make it nice and short and sweet. First of all, I'd like to thank Medfield Foundation for allowing this to occur. And I especially would like to thank Kelly and Scott, who have always been my biggest supporters and cheerleaders in all they do for the community. But most of all, it takes $300 a year to put on this event. So I've crossed paths with many people that I never would have crossed paths with if it wasn't for all-night graduation. And we've shared many laughs, tears, stories, and paper cuts. And now I can call many of these people my friends. And finally, for the many graduates of Medfield High School, that, as Kelly says, at 5 a.m. it dawns on them, and we all get the sweaty hugs and the kisses and as they're walking out the door because they can't believe what a gift they've been given. So thank you very much.
I don't think that Ron Griffin made it, or did he? Oh, Ron, you are here. Great. And Rena Romano.
Yes, I am also a veterans agent, and one of the things that I remember growing up very young is, of course, being a patriot. That's probably part of what I have to do as a veteran agent, to be an ambassador to patriotism as well. During my young years, of course, it was just after World War II, and I had many, many examples of what was patriotic in the community. Patriotic in the community, there were a lot of people just coming back from the war. Everybody in the community had paid a great effort to support those who were serving. And I was wondering, how would I ever be a patriot, being a very young person? And because the war was over, there would be no chance for me as growing up to be a patriot. And I remember listening to a new president. Again, I was very young. And he gave, in his inauguration speech, he gave out a definition of what a patriot was and how I could be a patriot. So I think that's what all of our volunteers are. There's so many of us around this community. And if I can just paraphrase what President Kennedy said, it was not what your community can do for you, but what you can do for your community. And that's what I think all of these volunteers have done. It's just a wonderful, wonderful time to be part of that group, especially in today when we see so many people that are thinking of themselves. And we hear about so much in public life about the negatives. These are the workhorses in the community that do the most for everybody.
And I see now that I skipped over Susan Holbrook because she wasn't able to be here. But is Tane Quinn here?
I'm really happy to have honored Susan for her work with Cradles to Crayons. And Cradles to Crayons was founded in 2002, and it's an organization that strives to provide children up to the age of 12 living in homeless or low-income situations with essentials that they need to feel safe and warm and ready to learn and valued. And at the same time, they lay a foundation for lasting change by providing meaningful, tangible volunteer opportunities to hundreds of corporations and thousands of individuals and families each year. Susan feels truly blessed to be a champion volunteer for Cradles to Crayons, as they provide children throughout the Commonwealth with everyday essentials they need to be successful in school and at home. And in 2010, they helped 50,000 children in Massachusetts, and their goal is to double that figure in the next 3 to 5 years. Medfield is one of their stellar communities, and they are totally amazed at the number of supporters in this community. In our schools, our scouting organizations, and our faith communities, people support product drives to fill the needs of so many. Like they supply backpacks, clothing, all sorts of things like that. At the UCC Medfield, Susan seeks to expand their partnership with Cradles and do more monthly work days in their new warehouse, which is in Brighton. And she's trying to reach out to more volunteers, not only in the church community, but outside. So please see her if you're interested in volunteering there.
The next one on my list was Shonda Schilling, and she was nominated by Jill Bellavance, but I don't believe either one of them are here. So I'll just quickly read. Shonda works with the ALS Association, the Shade Foundation, which I think she started, AANE, the schools, coaching, and obviously she fundraised for the Schilling Fields that are at the high school. She just does huge amounts of things for the town and for well, beyond the town. She's just volunteering everywhere. The next person on my list is John Filip, who works with the kids at the basketball program at St. Edward's. And he was nominated by Stephen Kafka, Mark Thomas, and Tom Powers, if they want to step forward.
I'm Mark Thomas. Steve Kafka and I nominated John Filip for Volunteer of the Year. Steve wasn't able to be here, but I think I know what he'd like to say. By way of history, John took over the program back in 2002, I believe, at which time there were no more than 30 or 40 kids playing on roughly 5 or 6 teams. Since then, the program has grown to over 140 children, I believe, and 11 or 12 teams, 6 of which went to the playoffs this year. And although many of you may recognize John as director, you probably don't appreciate just how much work he puts into the program. I can tell you firsthand that John spends most of his free time during the season either organizing, coaching, keeping the scorebook, running the time clock, sweeping the floors in between games, pretty much everything that needs to be done to provide an environment where so many kids can participate in games, in official games too, where a lot of these varsity basketball or even junior varsity basketball, but they get a chance to play official games with official referees, with people up in the stands, and it's an exciting and competitive league, and we thought it was about time that John deserved, or actually, he's been deserving for many years, but it was about time that he was recognized for just the time and effort and enthusiasm that he puts into the program. Thank you.
My name is Tom Powers. I also nominated John. One of the things that struck me about his work with the program is just with some of the, as Mark mentioned, the kids who won't play competitive basketball, but also it's an opportunity for boys to come together, girls to come together in the evening in the gym. John opens up the gym on school vacations, and the kids look forward to going up to the gym, and they really look forward to playing, because a lot of the college kids come home and they play at the school, and that's an opportunity that John affords, again, out of his own time, and it's really wonderful to see the younger kids look forward to seeing their, older brothers and sisters come home from college and have that opportunity.
Hi there. I thank the Medfield Foundation. I thank everybody in this room, actually, for being here. And as someone said earlier tonight, now I'll cede my time to Mark Thomas. No, but the St. Edward's CYO program, it's a league that shows good sportsmanship. Everyone plays. It's a no-cut system. It's good just to build self-esteem. I mean, you got kids that don't even know what a basketball court is, to kids that really do. And it's just a good program in the sense that it gives people the ability to play a sport, to play a team sport, and also to build their self-esteem. And to some extent, with the high school kids, it's even better, because I'd rather have them be in the gym than be somewhere else. So there are times, Tom is correct that there are times when they do come home from college, and they'll be, hopefully probably Leroy doesn't know that. They'll be like midnight basketball, but I gotta give credit to the church too, because Father Leroy and the church really is very open to using that gym as much as possible for the kids. So it really gives them a good, safe environment. And I love it. Just like all the other volunteers, anybody else in the room, I love what I do. And though I have no time from like November to about 2 weeks ago, it's really no skin off my back. So thank you very much. Thank you, Medfield.
One of the nice things is, as you can see with John, that similar minds reached out to the Medfield Foundation and nominated him. He was just, I don't think they coordinated, but it just happened. The next person on my list was Betty Sanders, who was nominated by Neil Sanders, but I don't believe either one of them are here. I'll just quickly summarize Betty. Betty is just a gardener par excellence. She's actually volunteers with the Medfield Garden Club. She and Neil are actually running the Medfield Community Gardens at this point. She works, volunteers for the Medfield Food Cupboard, and she also volunteers at the Mass Horticultural Society and shares her gardening expertise with all sorts of people. Next is Larry Kramer and Andy Spencer.
My name is Andy Spencer. I want to thank you all for this opportunity. I've nominated my friend and neighbor Larry for this honor, and I don't want it to be a self-serving reason. This is really because when Larry and I got together a couple of years ago and started making music and started getting people to dance and getting people to laugh, we thought it was just so much fun. And Larry was the guy who took our band and he turned it around and he said, let's earn some money. Let's earn some money for charity. Let's raise some money for some good causes. And it was Larry's cause, especially the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America, which he chose because of his personal involvement in that. He's a busy man with 3 daughters at home. 2 of them have Crohn's disease, and he is the guy who really wants to make their life better by increasing the amount of research that goes into Crohn's and colitis. And so, in addition to being a busy guy with finance at a local venture capital firm and having certainly a lot of after-school activities to cart the girls around to, he takes time to learn songs and to build his musical repertoire and bring that fun and that music to a bunch of people. And so it's a great honor. Larry, you've taught me a lot about volunteerism and about raising
Thank you, and as Andy would agree, thank you for the Medfield Foundation for today. And Andy would say it's strange not to have a microphone in my hand and start belting out a tune from the Stones or Queen or the Who, etc. So I'm not doing that today. But you know, Andy's my bandmate, my neighbor, my friend, my bass player, my backup singer. So he's been instrumental as well. We all had the idea to help the E4E fundraisers. So continue to support CSA. They do great things for our schools. And I've got 3 school-aged daughters, and we've had 2 fundraisers for E4E the last 2 years, raised $7,000. I thank Andy for the 3 Winter Blues fundraisers we've had over at the Legion Hall. We've raised $20,000 there. And some of you have been to the concert, so you can't be a band and raise funds without an audience. So thank you for that support over the years. And again, thank you, and look for our band in the local papers to come out and support some great causes.
Laurie, Nealon, and Kathleen Cahill together, because they were nominated for a joint enterprise that they started, the Medfield Angels Network, up to 400 strong at this point, Laurie, huh? And they were nominated by Susan Sipple, who told me that she couldn't be here because she had to go to a swimming thing for your child. But you were also nominated by Dawn Alcott and Amanda Nealon.
We'd really like them to have the floor and share with you really neat things that they're doing with Medfield Angels in connecting the community together. But what led us to nominate was just the incredible nature of how a person's idea and taking action on that idea can unite a community around folks that are going through difficult times, and the beautiful way in which this has touched so many lives. I think through our jobs through Medfield Youth Outreach, we hear about people's personal pain very often and about the gaps in their personal pain, and instead we're hearing back the incredible ways in which their needs are being met during high crisis periods of their life. So, and in addition, they're just great cheerleaders to us, an incredible encouragement to the work that we do. There's never a time that I've talked to them that I haven't walked away feeling so much better. so thank you.
Well, we want to start off by saying thank you so much for this truly incredible honor. Kathleen and I launched Medfield Neighbor Brigade about a year ago, and our goal was to provide, which is to build a strong, caring network throughout our community to help our neighbors and friends in times of temporary crisis, such as serious illness, injury, major surgery, or other tragic events. During difficult times, simple acts of kindness and generosity can have a profound impact on helping to get life back on track. With volunteers available and willing to help, families can focus on healing and caring for loved ones. Having volunteers prepare and deliver meals, grocery shop, run errands, assist with childcare or household chores, take care of a family pet, or offer a simple act of kindness is worth more than words can say. When we see someone going through a difficult time, there is a spontaneous spirit in all of us that wants to reach out and help and make an impact on their life. Medfield Neighbor Brigade connects those in need with those who are ready to help. We are completely volunteer-based. We're so thrilled to share that in 1 year we now have over 500 Medfield Angel volunteers. This is such a reflection of our truly amazing community that we live in. It has been an incredible experience being able to witness firsthand the overwhelming love, support, and generosity our community has shown to so many Medfield families going through a crisis. Every single need that we have posted has been filled.
In this 1 year, our Angels volunteers have supported 14 families who are going through or have gone through a temporary crisis. Our Angels support these families by providing meals, delivering delicious meals, I heard as well, helping out with the yard work, walking a family pet, or rides to medical appointments. Our Angels also provide support to other Medfield organizations. We provided approximately 50 loaves of bread for the food cupboard's Easter baskets, Thanksgiving baskets, and Christmas holiday baskets. We supported the food cupboard with a postal drive as well. Our Angels also support the Medfield Youth Outreach with their Halloween candy collection, as well as the new program, Birthday Wishes. And our Angels also helped out with the Christmas Angels and their holiday gift collection. Our Angels are always willing to lend a hand, and in a big way. There have been so many times when we put something on our website, and within, 20 minutes, everything has been filled. About a month ago, we put a family on for 6 weeks of meals for twice a week. And again, within less than an hour, all of them were filled up. And I've actually had friends call me and say, next time you're going to post something to the site, can you let me know? Because I'll be home and I'll be sure to get on there. Because so many people have tried to get on to help, but they're not home on their computer, so they miss out. Okay, our angels are always willing to lend a hand. And a little bit of background, Laurie and I were inspired to start this program in Medfield after hearing about it from a friend in another community. This friend connected us with Pam Washak. In 2001, Pam was overwhelmed by the outpouring support she received while undergoing treatment for cancer. She lives in Wayland. Having experienced the positive impact of these acts of kindness, she wanted to help other families in their time of need. So she founded Wayland Angels. Word of the community group spread in other towns, and other towns started setting up similar networks. Pam decided to take this volunteer service and make it available to more communities. Neighbor Brigade was established last spring to grow volunteer networks of support in every community in New England. We met Pam as she was preparing to launch Neighbor Brigade. We are so excited to be a part of what are now 17 chapters of Neighbor Brigade. Although Medfield is one of the newer chapters to Neighbor Brigade, we have the most volunteers and are by far the most active of all the chapters. We are truly grateful to be here today. Thank you, Amanda and Don and Susan Zippel, for nominating us. We share this honor today with the over 500 volunteers of Angels in our network. They are the reason that Medfield Neighbor Brigade is such a success.
The generosity of these gals in their time and in their work with their volunteer base is truly extraordinary. And so we are very, very thankful to know these ladies, both as people and as extraordinary volunteers.
Thank you to Don and Amanda for taking the time out of their crazy, busy scheduled job, volunteer work, they do it all, to nominate us. Jeanne and I started Christmas Angels, I guess about 6 years ago, when our family together knew of a family, a large family, who had a big financial need. They had a lot of children, they had some disabilities going on, and we're just like, they couldn't make ends meet day to day, and we're like, how are they going to do Christmas? And so together, anonymously, our families sponsored their Christmas. And it ended up being the best gift we gave ourselves. And we said, wow, it didn't take much out of our day or our lives or anything, from what we could do, but it made a great impact on them and that special day that it should be special for all children and families. So we decided to start Christmas Angels, and we said, okay, we know there's plenty of people like us that want to support other families at Christmas. And also we wanted the families, what was nice is to kind of have a connection with who you're helping at Christmas time. Even though it's done anonymously, we hope the sponsors will know maybe how many children there are, or maybe what situation they might be going through. And also, we then provide them with a very specific wish list of items that those children choose themselves and the parents may need that need to be fulfilled. So we then contacted Dawn and Amanda at the outreach, and we also have worked with the food cupboard and also Midway House Family Shelter, and asked them to provide us with families in need, all done anonymously. So then we have them provide us with the wish list, and we pair up the families.
The first year, as Nicki says, we had one family, and then the families would give us, we went to Amanda and everyone, got the wish list, and it came to about 10 families.
Maybe the second year.
The second year, we got 10 families, and each year we get a little worried because we know the holidays is very difficult for most people, and to take on a wish list that maybe we won't be able to provide everything for each person on the wish list. So each year we would send out an email to all of our friends and our neighbors, and each year, everyone's wishes were met on the list. And each family had about 3 gifts per person. And then, as the years went on, And we then called Laurie and Kathleen, and we posted it last year on the Medfield Brigade. And we said, all right, give us 16 families, and within an hour, all 16 families were accommodated for. And the families consist of 3 to about 6 or 7 family members, and each member gets about 3 gifts each. So every gift was met, and the first year was about 1, the second year was 10 families. This year we did over 40 families, and every single gift was met. And then not only that, we did receive some special wish lists from parents saying, I know this is way too much to ask for, but it was one gift my child really, really wanted, like a Wii or a bicycle or something.
Celtics tickets.
Celtics tickets.
I mean, like,
So we put it on the website, and within seconds they were taken up. And by the end of the season, right before Christmas, Nicki and I were getting calls from people saying, we didn't get a family, isn't there something else we could do? Well, it is unbelievable. So Nicki and I sit here and say, you know, we have been so blessed to be in such a community that has stepped out of their own worlds and their own struggles to make sure the lives of each other person is a much better one. So thank you for everyone here.
Next we have Sue Wilson and Kathy Brennan.
Well, I feel so lucky to live in Medfield, hearing about all of these things that go on that a lot of people don't know happen in our town. We hear a lot about the leaders in the town, and you see a lot of the same faces over and over again who contribute so much. But I'd like to thank the Medfield Foundation for this opportunity, because to me, what was important to me was to nominate Sue Wilson, because she's someone who doesn't get recognition. She's the type of volunteer people don't even know exists. She's in the basement of the library, week after week after week, sorting through boxes of books, moldy books, old books, wet books, pornographic books, all kinds of stuff that she has to sort through to try to pick out the best for our library book sales. She's done that for about 6 years now. We have 2 sales a year and an ongoing book sale too. And because of her effort and our cadre of volunteers who help for the sales, we've raised about $70,000 just on book sales alone for the library. And Sue's the type of person who's behind the scenes. She doesn't want to get up here and make a speech. She's being forced to. But she's the type of volunteer that I had 4 people, since I nominated her, I had 4 people say, I didn't even know Sue did that kind of thing. So she doesn't get recognition, and yet we could not do what we do without her and the volunteers like Sue. So thank you for the opportunity to recognize her.
I'd like to thank Kathy for recognizing me. This is pretty unbelievable. I'm one of those people that has a busy family, and I had to choose one thing that I could do to give back. And I chose to do book sales for the library, and it does take a big chunk of time and a lot of effort, both physically and time-wise. Lifting all those boxes of books keeps it there. But it's a really exciting thing. I think of what I do quite often, the words I use is it's a treasure hunt. If you like books, and you never know what's going to be in that box when you open. And it's the same thing when you come to the sale. So come on to the sale. Our next big sale is on a weekend of April 7th and 8th. And I don't know, we get, what do you think, 500, 600 people come through, and it's a lot of fun. And I think the community enjoys having a place where they can donate their books and know that they're going to a good cause. And all the money that we raise goes right back to the library. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
Next we have Harry Pritoni and Cheryl O'Malley.
Yes, first I'd like to thank the Medfield Foundation for this opportunity, because I'm really excited about the fact that I get to speak about what Harry has done. I have to start with the beginning of this story, and it all starts with Mike Sullivan, and I want to thank him very much for recommending Harry to me.
He's the one, huh? See you later.
And I was so fortunate to be in his office at the right time, the right place, the right day. And I happened to be bringing him up to date with what was going on at the Toy Derby House, and all the things that we have done, but all the things we had still a huge list to do. And Mike suggested Harry, because Harry had just retired from EMC and was very good at woodworking. And I said, oh my gosh, that would be wonderful. And I'm just thinking a couple of hours here and there would be just so great if we could have. And once Harry came to us, he just started to give us all kinds of hours, and we were just extremely fortunate to have him at that point in time. And why that is because we had gone through this restoration process with other rooms, and so we had documented the products and all that we used on the other rooms. So basically, with Harry's experience in woodworking and restoring things, that we could just hand him the product list. You go, yeah, I know that. I know how to do that. Okay, fine. It was great. So what happened in a year and a half's time is that we redid at least 5 spaces and a barn. We only have one side left on the barn to do, and that is just extraordinary because the Dwight Derby House has been in operation since 1996. It's 15 years old this year as far as the town owning it, and in that time we had only done 3 rooms, and that's because we had to do a lot of structural stuff in the beginning in restoration and a lot of things that you couldn't see. So this, with Harry coming on board, it made it possible for us to have more rooms available for the public to see. So now we actually have some exhibits upstairs. So if any of you would ever like to see some of what has happened, I think you'd all be quite impressed. The work that's just been done is extraordinary, and the Dwight Derby House has been so fortunate to have had Harry pass our threshold.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's truly an honor to be here today, to be recognized for something that I love to do, as you heard all of the other volunteers say. I love the challenge of fixing something that's broken or restoring something, and to be able to do this to a house that is built by one of the first 13 settlers of our town and is on the historic register is truly a gift to me. So I thank you sincerely, and if you ever see my black pickup truck in the driveway, please stop in and I'll give you a tour.
We have 3 ladies that I've had the great pleasure to get to meet over the past year. Kaldy and Lisa Dolan have been nominated for their work on Lyme disease education in town by Melissa Savalonis of the Chair of the Board of Health.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Melissa Savalonis, and I'm the Chair of the Medfield Board of Health. And I'm actually speaking on behalf of the entire Board of Health tonight. A number of years ago, we had a local pediatrician come before the Board of Health because he was concerned about the number of Lyme cases he was seeing within our community. The Board of Health decided to do some minor outreach, and I don't think we ever imagined that it would grow into what it has today. The Board of Health nominated Kaldy and Lisa Dolan for their efforts in reducing Lyme disease in Medfield. There are a number of individuals in the community that have assisted with this effort. However, Chris and Lisa have truly been instrumental in moving this effort forward. Their dedication, passion, hard work, and energy over the years is impressive. Chris and Lisa are 2 concerned citizens that have provided their time to educating our citizens about Lyme by working with the schools to develop Lyme curriculum, by drafting and publishing educational materials, holding panel discussions within the community, and by researching ways the community can reduce the number of cases. Medfield is very fortunate to have volunteers like Chris and Lisa, which is why the Board of Health nominated them. Thank you.
Thank you for nominating us, and thank you for this honor. Chris and I, as Melissa mentioned, probably back in 2006 with Lester Hartman, who was instrumental, a pediatrician who noticed a huge increase in the incidence of Lyme amongst his clients, pediatric patients. We got together and kind of informally started a regional Lyme committee, hoping to involve other communities as well. And it was a lot of work. We definitely wanted to make education our primary goal. And we went into the schools and we educated the coaches of the different fields that kids were playing on to make sure that kids not only are aware of the ticks, but just to make sure you check for ticks. So it was through many years of work, but with great result. We had great support from the Board of Health, the teachers in the school. Nancy Sheamer was amazing. Susan Cowell, who put the curriculum together for the kids at school, was really a big effort, a lot of different people.
I made a couple notes, I'm not sure. I think what we've done has been covered. Our regional committee, which was active for the last 5 years, has kind of dissolved, and now I just want to recognize the Board of Selectmen have appointed us to we're now a citizens study committee online within Medfield, so you'll be seeing soon more efforts within our own town to reduce the incidence of Lyme, and let's hope that we can make a dent within our own community and with our neighboring towns, because it is, as you all know, a pretty serious health issue. Lastly, just to thank the foundation for this opportunity. It's great. More recognition for the problem, I think, is wonderful, and to Melissa for thinking of us. We're very surprised and humbled by this recognition.
Next we have Katie Quinn, who was nominated by Ellen Tobman.
Hi, my name is Ellen Tubman, and I'm a teacher at the high school. I teach Spanish, and when I saw the opportunity to nominate a Youth Volunteer of the Year, I couldn't resist nominating Katie because she has a project that she's working on in Ecuador that she's passionate about. She came to me at the beginning of the school year, and she asked me if she could present the project to our class and tell us a little bit about it. And she did just that, and she's making some great connections between our education and the outside world, not just Medfield, but way beyond where we are. And I know that she hasn't had it all easy with her project. She's had some bumps in the road. She can't just collect everything and bring it down there. She's worked really hard, and I just thought she deserved to be nominated because of the passion she shows for her work and her mature attitude towards what she does. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about the project. It's the Wishi project in Ecuador.
So I won't take Mrs. Tubman, but I got involved in the Wishi project a few months ago. My cousin Elizabeth founded the project. The goal is to build a school in the Wishi community in Ecuador, where currently there's no school, but a lot of kids who want to learn. The difficult part, what we're finding now especially, is that the government doesn't necessarily want a school there. So we're running into a lot of troubles with customs, but because we want the kids to be safe. But one of my goals at the beginning of the project was to kind of make it like kids building a school for other kids. I organized a school supplies drive, a backpack drive, and collected books with money raised by some of the kids at my church who, after hearing about the situation with the kids in Ecuador, were really excited to help them, and I was excited that they were excited, and we had a lot of success, raised over $3,000, collected 50 backpacks and tons of crayons and pencils and other school supplies, and that was just from Medfield. So the project has been all over the country, and now it's in progress, so thank you to everyone who's contributed. And
get a sense of the Hobson's choice that the Medfield Foundation had. These people are doing just extraordinary, remarkable things, diverse, just fantastic work. But the Medfield Foundation actually did set out to pick people that were the volunteers of the year and the youth volunteer of the year, and so that we did. And Deirdre Walsh is the youth volunteer of the year. Deirdre, why don't you come on up? And you have the people that nominated you were Eric Almberg and Anne-Marie Sabra from the high school.
I'm Anne-Marie Sabra. I'm an English teacher at Medfield High School. I'm honored to be here tonight. I'd like to thank the Medfield Foundation for honoring one of Medfield's finest, Deirdre Walsh. This is Eric Almberg. He and I are the co-advisors of Community Teens, which is a service-based club at Medfield High School. Community Teens was the brainchild of Medfield alum Jen Sullivan, who graduated from Medfield High School in 2004. Jen oversaw then a group of 25 like-minded individuals who embraced community service activities. As a teacher at Medfield High School, I can remember just standing back and watching this small group of kids in awe as they worked towards the betterment of their community. Jen was a part of the high school generation that was immediately impacted by 9/11. As we approach the 10-year anniversary of 9/11, Community Teens continues to carry the torch of community service on a school-wide and town-wide level. As we fast forward to 2011, Community Teens now has over 100 members, a leadership team, a steering committee, a working budget, a scholarship, and a president in Deirdre Walsh who has modeled her leadership by her example. Deirdre embraces community service through action and accountability. She kicked off the school year by manning a booth at Medfield Day and assuming the varied responsibilities that fall on the president of our club.
Deirdre has also immersed herself in her devotion to spirituality. Deirdre has been an active participant in a variety of roles at the Blessed Sacrament Parish in Walpole. Last week I spoke to Lee Smolinski, a parent volunteer at Blessed Sacrament. Lee raved about Deirdre's commitment to her church. Last month the church was in a pinch and needed someone to help organize and run the 30-hour famine. As it was told to me, the youth minister had left and someone was needed to help pull this event off. Deirdre stepped up in a huge way, facilitating the organization and execution of this event. Lee described Deirdre's commitment to Blessed Sacrament as invaluable. Deirdre has spoken to confirmation orientation groups in an effort to prepare them for confirmation. She is an active member of the Parish Pastoral Council. She has led small group discussions and provided information about the confirmation program from the student perspective. Mrs. Smolinski described Deirdre as, quote, a dear, dear doll, an invaluable member of the Blessed Sacrament community, end quote. In my role as a guidance counselor, each year on average I write about 65 letters of recommendation. And when I scan over the resumes and forms that students provide, I'm often amazed at the volume of activities that they're involved in. When I looked over Deirdre's resume this year, what I noticed was depth of involvement. As many of you in the audience would agree with me, Deirdre attends a high-performing school. Sometimes competition will get the best of our students, and many of them struggle with doing things that look good on paper versus what feels good in their heart. It is evident to me that Deirdre is motivated to do things that feel good. She's the type of person who understands the distinct differences between involvements and commitments. Deirdre is committed to her activities. She does not get involved in something for the sake of looking good for colleges. The common thread of service permeates throughout her resume. There have been times when I wonder where she finds the time to put her energies into all of these commitments, but one thing I never do is question where Deirdre's heart is when it comes to her commitments. Words like altruism, selflessness, steadfast, loyal, committed, and communal are words that come to mind when I reflect back on my letter of recommendation for Deirdre. As a guidance counselor, you often wonder what direction students will take when they leave high school. Deirdre's passion for history, care and concern for community will benefit any environment she steps into. For the past couple years, I've seen Deirdre in action in two specific areas, community teens and our guidance advisory group. The goal of this monthly meeting of counselors, parents, and students is to discuss academic and non-academic issues like student stress levels, GPA, future planning, and guidance curriculum strains. Deirdre's presence and voice, here again, are in support of her peers. Her shared perspectives and guidance advisory come from the major stakeholders in the building, the students. I think the experience of being on guidance advisory has provided benefits that are twofold. The advisory is an avenue for Deirdre to voice her opinions and get a transparent look at how and why decisions are made by the guidance office and school system. It is a unique but authentic form of service to community. Citizenship is one of Medfield High School's core values. Other terms like partnership, excellence, and community make up our mission statement. It is always rewarding to see students who quietly embrace these tenets get recognized by entities like the Medfield Foundation. It has become habit for Deirdre to put a quote on top of our Friday agendas at Community Teens. So I would like to end my speech with a quote by William James that was taken from our October 1st agenda. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. On behalf of Community Teens and the Medfield High School community, we commend Deirdre Walsh for her commitment to service and applaud her being recognized today as the Medfield Foundation's Youth Volunteer of the Year for 2011.
So Deirdre, it's my pleasure to award you. We're very proud of the work that you've done and what you do for the community. So the MFI is very proud, as I say, to recognize you as the 2011 Medfield Youth Volunteer of the Year.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be honored by my guidance counselor, Eric Ornberg, and a great co-facilitator, Anne-Marie Sabra. And I'd also like to thank the Medfield Foundation for giving me such a wonderful honor. There's not many times that teens sometimes get a place to be recognized for doing things that are not for college. A lot of people think we try to boost our resumes, and I think we just generally care for our community. I started as an altar server at my church at 9 years old, and I wouldn't think that 10 years later I would be there every day pretty much. And when I came to Medfield High School, I was so wonderful to step into an organization like Community Teens that had been well established and had really set a wonderful goal for its participants, current and future. I have grown as a student, and I have been lucky to work with organizations within the school itself, from Warriors for the Homeless to our advisory boards for our principals and our teachers, to wonderful people within the town, such as Medfield Lions, the Angels, and even Denise Garlick. I worked on your campaign too. So it's been an honor to meet everyone in town. Congratulations to everyone who's been nominated, and Bob Luttman for being honored. Everyone here deserves it, and there are so many faces in town that I've seen and haven't seen that deserve what an honor that this is too. So thank you so much.
Senator Scott Brown sends his congratulations and best wishes for you and your family. And then we now have please Ann Thompson and Mark Fisher come up from our Board of Selectmen.
It's a pleasure to be here. I think one of the greatest things that we do as selectmen is we get to come to a lot of events like this where we recognize people that are truly great volunteers, and like it's been said many times today, makes Medfield such a special place. Makes it such a richer community, and so many things that take place because of someone's taking the extra time to do things. So on behalf of the town, we've got some proclamations here for Deirdre and for Bob that we'll give later too, just recognizing the town's thanks to them as being volunteers of the year. So thank you very much.
Well, congratulations, Deirdre. My colleague and friend, Representative Garlick, and I are so pleased to be here to recognize you. And our thanks as well to the Medfield Foundation for having us here today. It's just such an honor and a treat to recognize Deirdre and Bob and all the other amazing volunteers. I had the privilege of living in Medfield for almost a year, and I know what an amazing community it is. I was building my house in Norfolk, but it's, a community is not a fantastic community because of its buildings, although you've got great buildings, and it's not a great community because of your open space, although you've got fantastic open space, but it's the people that make a community. And Medfield is so fortunate to have people like Deirdre and Bob and everybody else who's been honored here today. So on behalf of Denise, we jointly have a proclamation from the House of Representatives for Deirdre. It says, be it known that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Deirdre Walsh in recognition of receiving the Medfield Foundation's annual Volunteer of the Year Award. The achievement is testimony to your leadership skills, compassion, commitment, and sense of community. Congratulations.
We now have Jeff Mahoney representing, please stay. No, you have one go. Representing Congressman Stephen Lynch's office.
Thanks, and on behalf of Congressman Lynch, I offer his apologies for not being here. Unfortunately, congressional business in D.C. He's actually in the air right now on his way back to D.C. But for me, it's great to hear these the stories and all the nominees and hearing the wide variety of ages and causes. It's what makes a community special. So congratulations to all the nominees and to the Medfield Foundation. I have congressional citations to Bob Luttman and Deirdre Walsh. Congratulations. when you hear the people that know Deirdre best talk about her, what an impressive job, Deirdre. Thank you for everything you're doing for the town and all the people that you bump into. Bob Luttman and I overlap on Wednesday nights now at Tai Chi, and when I saw him on Wednesday night, I told him that we were changing the format, that we were going to have a roast instead of just a commendation for him. I hear that Harry Pritoni is really excellent at telling jokes, according to Ann Thompson, so we'll have Harry come up and tell jokes about you. But we do actually have, Bob, why don't you come on up and we'll get going on honoring you. And once again, you were nominated by Amanda, Nealon, and Don Alcott.
See Bob sit here and he's smiling and his applause for all of you. I can't help but think that this is a dream of his come true, to see all these volunteers in one room together connected. And you'll understand why as we read a little bit more. Nominating Bob for MFI's Volunteer of the Year was easy. He gives of himself daily to Medfield. When you arrive at a meeting and Bob is there, you know you have a friend at the table. At those meetings, it seems that Bob is always an advocate on the best side of the issues that benefit the town. When we felt stuck about how to get the word out about an event or how to communicate with the community about a new program or who to ask to get something done, we turned to Bob for his thoughts on the issue. Through his Monday morning Medfield News email updates and website, he has raised awareness of all the great activities that Medfield has to offer and connected residents to the many special opportunities to volunteer and get involved. He has further encouraged civic involvement through getting the word out to vote during town, state, and national elections.
And Bob's desire to serve is not just about his own service, but extends to connecting others to each other in order to build community. He has been instrumental in bringing about a chain reaction of volunteerism through Community Connections Cafe and other endeavors. He has been instrumental in keeping Medfield's musical history preserved through his efforts in saving the Lowell Mason House. He serves on the Library Trustees Board, the Technology Study Committee, Medfield Youth and Community Collaborative, and has recently been seen at Medfield Cares About Prevention, just to name a few. This list does not begin to cover all of the other quiet ways in which he shows up to offer a hands-on support with many, many projects around town. Although Mr. Medfield might be a more appropriate title, Volunteer of the Year sounds pretty good too.
Bob, we have a couple other people that wanted to talk about what you've done in town. Steve Pelosi is going to talk about your involvement with the library.
Hi, good afternoon all. As Pete mentioned, I'm Steve Pelosi. I'm one of Bob's fellow trustees on the Library Board of Trustees, and it's my pleasure today to speak on behalf of all the library trustees as we recognize Bob for everything that he's done for the library over the years. Bob's been a trustee for about 10 years now, and what we've seen over those 10 years in the library is considerable change. So, you know, it used to be a book repository with newspapers and, you know, primarily print, but now it's kind of this multimedia gathering place where people can exchange ideas and, you know, access information in a very easy manner. And one of the things that Bob did to really facilitate that was that he was the guy that developed the first website for the library. And he's maintained that up until its recent redesign. And if you've ever been to www.medfieldlibrary.org, you know what a resource that is and how convenient it makes your library experience when you don't have the time to get to the library for a leisurely afternoon perusal. And over that time, you know, as we, you know, Bob's involvement runs the gamut, you know, from the little things. I mean, you know, every Friday attending the brown bag lunch program, if you're wondering, Mary, where he was on Fridays, that's where he was. You know, spending a Saturday afternoon dismantling the security gates in the front foyer with Jim Whalen, another trustee, so that, you know, they could put a carpet down, a new carpet down in the foyer. Or whether that's, you know, championing teen programs to help build teen engagement around town. Bob's the guy that's behind all of this. But it's not just the little things, it's the big things too. You know, the library recently just finished a long-range plan. Bob was the guy at the forefront of that long-range plan that's going to help guide the library through 2014. When Dan Brissell announced his retirement a few years ago, Bob didn't shy away from taking the lead in that search committee that's resulted in our hiring Deb Kelsey, our wonderful library director. So, you know, when we think about Bob, I see him across the spectrum. And one of the things that has been mentioned and is a common theme here today is this idea of connectivity. Well, when I solicited my fellow trustees for their input for what I was going to say today, one of the things that, you know, was a common thread through that input was, you know, Bob's the guy that connects things. That's what he does in town. Community Connections Cafe, we heard about that. Bob's, you know, initializing this concept of a cultural center that's going to link, hopefully, the Zullo Gallery and the library and the Historical Commission in an effort to help gain a little bit more, you know, push on each one of those. So the sum of those parts will be greater than the whole, or the sum of the whole will be greater than the individual parts. So, you know, as we think about what Bob's done for the library, I think, you know, about the whole spectrum. That's it. So, on behalf of all the trustees, Bob, and I'm sure all the patrons of the library, I'd like to say thank you for all you do.
Hi, my name is Jeanne Borden, and on behalf of myself, Roberta Frankenthaler, and the NYCC board, it is my pleasure that I stand here today to express our sincere gratitude to Bob Luttman for all his time and effort spent toward the Medfield Youth Community Collaborative, otherwise known as NYCC. For those of you who are not familiar with NYCC, I would like to share with you our mission so that you can better understand Bob's involvement. NYCC is a parent, youth, and community network established to provide leadership to and community focus on Medfield youth by identifying the current issues facing the young people of Medfield, supporting parent and student education programs, and youth activities that promote safe, legal, and healthy behaviors among town departments and agencies, and facilitating communication among our schools, families, and community members. Bob is an integral part of the NYCC mission. He offers thoughtful insight and is an extraordinary resource to our group. He's a significant member of the board, representing the various community groups that he is active in. His breadth of knowledge enables him to share an objective view on matters, whether big or small, and because of this, we're able to execute ideas with an educated peace of mind. One of the many ideas Bob has been instrumental in was to expand the resources at the Medfield Public Library that are available to the teens today. 3 years ago, a discussion ensued about the early closing of the Medfield High School Library and the limits this placed on the students. Bob spoke on behalf of the Medfield Public Library as an underutilized and valuable educational resource. Bob was one of the people who got the ball rolling toward establishing the library as a teen-compatible work environment. Today, the library is a center for teens to meet, study, and work together in an open, friendly atmosphere, with plans still underway, expanding on that. He continues to educate us on the technology of today's teens, since there are very few of us who can truly understand the mountainous opportunities of the internet. Bob has helped to bring it to a reality. Bob established the Teen Volunteer Corps, connecting teens in the community that represent various volunteer opportunities. His advocacy for the many community groups has been instrumental at connecting the teens to a broad variety of people throughout the town. We feel no one could be more deserving than
This is really embarrassing. One of the other the things that Bob happened to do was to be a founding member of the Medfield Foundation, and I kind of forgot about the fact that Kevin Byrne is supposed to be speaking on behalf of the Medfield Foundation involvement. Bob. Kevin?
Thinking about Bob, he was instrumental to the start of this whole idea with the Medfield Foundation. He was there at the beginning to kind of get it off the ground. And that's while he was bouncing all these different ideas and these different obligations he had around. He's one of those guys that gets involved in everything. And frankly, I don't think we could have really gotten started without him. He found us our first computer, which was hard to come by. He developed the website for the Medfield Foundation, which was really, critical to getting it going. And he participated in countless hours of meetings and I know late nights working on getting everything together. And it was really tremendously important to getting this whole idea going. And he's really, we talk about community, he's really the kind of guy that glues the community together. He's done that throughout the community. And this is just one of those other ventures that he kind of got involved in that really launched things for us. And I'm really thankful for all you kicked in here. You've been very important to getting this going and to everything else that we've talked about today. So,
Well, it's my pleasure to, on behalf of the Medfield Board of Directors, to formally give you a certificate of appreciation as the 2011 Medfield Volunteer of the Year Award. Thank you very much for all that you've done to the community, and congratulations. Also, before we ask you to say a few words, we'll go through the commendations. We've got a few people that want to come up and give you commendations. First of all, again, we have a letter from Scott Brown with his congratulations for you. So congratulations on that. And then again, if I could ask Ann Thompson and Mark Fisher to come up with the Board of Selectmen commendations.
Once again, it's really our pleasure on behalf of the town to give Bob a commendation. I think, he's been involved in so many things that's happened that's made Medfield such a great place that we really do appreciate it. And on behalf of the town, once again, thanks very much, Bob.
I'd like to ask Denise Garlick and Dan Wilson to come back up, please.
I would first like to say I'd like to thank the Medfield Foundation for the honor of being invited today and to wish you a happy anniversary. And what I know full well is that it's geography that makes a town, but it's the people in that town with their talents and skills and compassion and commitment that make a town a community. And this has been a wonderful afternoon of just raw joy and reaffirmation for me and hope for our communities and for our future. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here, and also for the privilege of presenting to Bob, my friend, a resolution from the House of Representatives, presented by a man with incredible timing, Representative Winslow. And I'm pleased to be able to do this in the presence of Bob's wife, Mary, and his daughter, Michaela. So I will read you my whereases. These are resolutions congratulating Robert Luttman on being named the Medfield Foundation 2011 Volunteer of the Year. Whereas Robert Luttman has been selected as the Medfield Foundation 2011 Volunteer of the Year from recommendations submitted by his fellow Medfield residents. And whereas Robert Luttman leads by example, demonstrating civic involvement that strengthens the community, having served in many leadership roles, including the Library Trustees Board, Medfield's Technology Study Committee, the Medfield Youth and Community Collaborative, and a founding director of the Medfield Foundation, and through his Monday morning Medfield News updates. And whereas Robert Luttman, ever conscious of the concerns of all community members of Medfield, earns the respect and admiration of everyone with whom he comes in contact because of his many skills and talents, friendly, courteous manner, integrity, and decades of distinguished service to this community. And whereas the citizens of the town of Medfield are indebted to Robert Luttman for his tireless efforts and dedication to the people of the town of Medfield. And whereas on March 27, 2011, the Medfield Foundation will honor Robert Luttman with the Volunteer of the Year Award, therefore be it resolved that the Massachusetts House of Representatives joins with the citizens of Medfield and the friends and family of Robert Luttman in congratulating him upon being named the recipient of the Medfield Foundation 2011 Volunteer of the Year in his honor, and further extends to him its best wishes for continued success, and be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be forwarded by the Clerk of the House of Representatives to Robert Luttman and to the Medfield Foundation, signed by the Speaker of the House, the Clerk of the House, and my colleague Daniel Winslow and myself.
Jeff Mahoney to come back up and represent Congressman Stephen Lynch.
Thank you. Can I say, I don't know how you found a couple hours to even be here today. But, all right, I'm moving along. Congratulations, God bless. Thank you.
All very much. I must say, a letter from Scott Brown has delicious irony to it. You know, my mother was always concerned about my picture not being posted in a public building someplace, but I think she was referring to the post office. Thank you all very much. I am deeply touched and moved by this honor, especially to be standing here with so many other people who deserve this award as much, if not more, than I do. The angels who went from nothing to 500 people, who, as I said, respond almost instantaneously to requests for help. Dawn and Amanda, thank you very much for what you wrote about me. Thank you to everybody else in this room. I think at one time or another, I have probably worked on some committee or other with most of you, usually revolving around a cup of coffee and some food. So afterwards, please help yourself to the refreshments. This is an honor, and I'm actually speechless, which is probably going to be a surprise to my family. This actually all began, my whole volunteer career began several years ago as a way to spend time with my two lovely daughters in school with them. I actually began my volunteer career as a room mother at the Memorial School. When a very confused secretary called and said, "We have you signed up to be a room mother." And I said, well, yeah, that was me. And I did, and had the real pleasure of being a mother for several years. And eventually, by the time they all got through the Dale Street School, it was no longer the room mother tea that we went to every year, but became the room parent tea. But that was a great pleasure as well, to spend time in our schools and to see how hardworking the teachers are, and the staff and the administration, and how hardworking other parents are, and the amount of volunteer time. Kelly McDermott, Jeanne Sanfilippo. This is where I met a lot of them and a lot of you. Kathy Brennan was in those schools copying and collating stuff, baking cookies, craft fairs, chaperones, field trips. I think I'm permanently banned from the Plymouth plantation, but that's a whole other story, and it wasn't my fault. But the great thing has always been being able to work with other great people, all of you and other people beyond this and beyond this room. And I just want to say, this is probably one of the best communities to be a volunteer. Not only is it desperately needed, not only would this town grind to a halt without all the volunteer work that goes into it, but it is appreciated. Not just at events like this, but day in and day out. When you do something, that work is appreciated, it's respected, and you get things done in this town. People can come together and get things done. And I want to talk about something that has been mentioned, and that's generosity. You know, we have a lot of things in this town, and people will look at us who don't live here and say, well, you know, Medfield, it's a rich town, it should have all this stuff. But generosity is not measured by what's in your wall, it's measured by what's in your heart. And you know, all this stuff at the Angels, 500 people, and that's all anonymous, all right? There's nobody gets publicized for doing that. And every year, Dawn and Amanda run the Angel Tree at the Needham Bank. And there's this tree sitting there, and they put little stars on it with gifts that they need for families in need for the holidays. And every year we sort of sweat that out. Are people going to come through? Because that list gets a little longer every year. And you think where the economy's going, maybe generosity is not quite going to be there this year. But every year we walk in there at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, and there is that tree, and it is surrounded by gifts. All of them nicely wrapped and packaged, all anonymous. We have no idea who those people are that are giving that. These are people that took time out of their lives to go shopping, to wrap those gifts. We'll haul them out. It takes 4 or 5 carloads to get it over to Town Hall. We'll fill up the bottom floor of Town Hall. We'll go back and get more. The bank will call and say, more people are dropping off stuff. And we stand there every year, you know, Amanda and Dawn and I and other volunteers and Roberta Frankenthal, and we sort all these out. We package them up by each family. At the end, we stand there and we look, and the whole hallway is packed with gifts, and a conference room downstairs is packed with gifts. And we just stand there and we go, this is incredible. And we look at you and say, this is Medfield. This is Medfield. This is what this town is like. A word goes out and people respond. I know I get a lot of credit for doing the Monday morning Medfield News, but it wouldn't be what it is without people responding to those emails. I sent out an email that we needed people to come and shovel out a basement on Green Street so we could try and move this house. 12 guys showed up. We'd spent a month shoveling out their own driveways. And that's what that is. They got cropped out of the picture. But 12 guys showed up with snow shovels, wheelbarrows, ropes to pull the wheelbarrows up out of the hole in the ground. And we cleaned that basement out in 2 days. People responded to that email. And so it is very easy to be a volunteer in this town and to get things done because people respond and people give so much of their time and their talent and their energy and their skills, not just their money. And that's what makes this a very special town. And I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for this honor. I'd like to thank the Medfield Foundation. This began in the Hearns kitchen 10 years ago, 4 or 5 of us. And Abby Marble, you talk about $1.2 million, all of it went through Abby's hands. Abby did all the bookwork, all the bookkeeping, all the checks, processed all of this. Abby is one of the great sort of unsung heroes behind all of this. And Deborah Kelsey and my colleagues at on the Board of Trustees and Mike Sullivan, you know, the culture we have sort of starts from the top, and the people who lead this organization. And our selectmen, all 3 of them are here today, and Mike Sullivan has helped create that culture that so many of us then step forward and volunteer to be a part of. And thank you, Steve Pelosi. I know when they told me people were going to give speeches, they told me Steve Pelosi was going to be one of them. I thought about not showing up today, but
I wanted to make you sweat.
yeah. We have a tradition on the library trustees, and we'll do this again next month. Every April, we have our organizing meeting. We elect the officers for the coming year. And by tradition, the last trustee to show up has to be the chairman for the next year. Isn't that right? Chairman for life, Pelosi.
I'm going to be there a half hour early.
He couldn't figure out why the rest of us showed the day before with sleeping bags and food. And camped out. And my congratulations, Deirdre Walsh. One of the great groups in this town is the community teams. And having watched that grown and their involvement in the community and with other groups in the community, and the work that they do, and the work that other student groups do. And Dawn and Amanda can rattle off a list of kids, peer leadership, and the student council that also get involved in community service. And all the groups there, Warriors for the Homeless always seem to be, there was always some group going on. And also I'd like to end by talking about the Council on Aging, because one of the things of which I am most proud is this building. And especially being here in the Lou Fellini room. Lou is my friend and my neighbor, and he and I got involved in this Adult Community Center Building Committee many years ago. I think Michaela was in kindergarten. Michaela came to most of the meetings there for a while, and was deeply immersed in discussions of where to put the coat room and how big the offices needed to be. And it went on for a while, and it took some work to get this building done, but Lou and Roberta were a big part in getting this building built. And Susan Bernstein is their volunteer coordinator here, and if you're ever looking for something to do to give back to this community, Susan is the person to talk to. And Bill Johnson and Fossey do a lot for our older citizens, because I believe that a society is judged by how well it cares for those in the dawn of life, the children, by how well it cares for those in twilight of life, the elderly, and by how well it cares for those on the edge of life, the poor, the sick, and the disabled. And we have so many people working in this town to make sure that all of those groups get services, get the help they need, and are a part of this community. I want to talk about Cheryl O'Malley and my friends at the Lowell Mason House, although maybe until I get that moved I should keep quiet. But Harry, we're really going to need you, because right now that thing's sitting up on some steel. We will move that. It's moving April 19th. It is going to be a great day. It will not snow that day. There will be no snow on the roads. It may rain, but it's covered with a tarp. So next Saturday, April the 2nd, is a major concert school, as well as our own award-winning Medfield High School student musicians. And tickets are on sale at Lord's. And that's going to be a great concert for the musicians in the crowd. It's going to be a great concert to see all of that. Anyway, I think I've run out of things to say, so I'm going to stop now. But just to say, I'm very, very deeply honored by this award, and I thank you all very much.
It takes a lot to put this event on, and we've been doing this for a few years now. And Pete actually puts in a tremendous amount of work to put this on. He organizes it all the way through, working with the rest of the Medfield board. But to be honest with you, Pete really does lead it, and he's put a tremendous amount of time putting this event on today. And I think we can all recognize it's a great success. So before handing over, I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for coming.
Hi, I'm Lainey Jones from Lainey's 3Ls, and I'm here with
Deirdre Walsh.
Okay, and you won the
Medfield Foundation Inc.'s Youth Volunteer of the Year.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
Thank you.
What did you think when you heard that you won this award?
I was just shocked. There are so many people in this town that do so much, especially the teenagers and the youth in the community, and very honored. It's great to be recognized for just things I do because I like to do them. So it was a wonderful honor.
That's awesome. And what are you most proud about doing this year?
I have to say it's the 30-hour famine at my church. We really had no one able to do it through our lack of a youth minister. So I had to organize it from the ground up, from publicity all the way to the actual event, and people to be volunteering and participate in it. So I really got to a good administrative position to see through the activity, and it was wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm here with
Bob Luttman,
Okay, and you won the
Volunteer of the Year, the Adult Volunteer of the Year.
Awesome. So what did you think when you heard that you won this award?
I was shocked because a lot of people volunteer a lot in this town, and I was surprised that I got picked out.
So what are you most proud about doing this year?
This year, moving the Lowell Mason House.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So well, thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you, lady. Thank you.
Again, I'm Lainey Jones, and I'm here with Mr. Peterson, the founder of the Medfield Foundation. That's right?
Well, one of them. There were a number of people, like Mr. Luttman, who just got honored as the Volunteer of the Year Award. He was one of them. Kevin Hearn and Abby Marble, and I'm probably forgetting somebody else too. But there were a number of us. I was one of them, just one.
Okay. So why did you start the Medfield Foundation?
You know, it was when we were building 3 new schools in town, and the school committee told us, and it was, I guess they had a special committee to build the schools, and the committee told us that it was going to cost $56 million to build these 3 schools. And that was redoing the Memorial School, and redoing the middle school, and redoing the high school. And it seemed like so much money that we tried to start thinking about different ways of maybe getting some more money for things in town that were really public purposes, like the schools. And we thought, well, gee, maybe if we had a separate entity that people could give money to for the town, for the projects in town, that maybe that would work. And so we formed the Medfield Foundation. And at first, let's see, the first thing we did was we raised money for the Council on Aging bus. There are 3 buses out front. The one that we raised money for, I think, is so old now that they gave that one to the schools. They don't even have that one any longer. But, you know, that was the first thing, and we didn't even raise all of the money for that. But over the years, it turned out to be $1.2 million that has been raised for things in Medfield by the Medfield Foundation. The field at the high school, the track and the bleachers at the high school, the Dale Street outdoor classroom, you might know that one. And yeah, it's been working great.
Okay, so what exactly? So it gathers money for things for Medfield?
Yes. So that if you have an idea, for instance, the way it actually, and this is, we didn't know how it was going to work when we started it. We just thought it would be a good idea to have it, and we didn't quite know how it was going to work. And the way that it's actually turns out that it works most of the time is that somebody like you, say you have an idea of something you want to do, like what grade are you in?
Fifth.
In fifth grade, so you're at Dale, and so that say that there was something that they didn't have at Dale Street that you wanted to have, like movie nights on Friday nights or something. So you could then come to the Medfield Foundation and say, here's my idea. I want to have movies at Dale Street on Friday nights, get all the kids out. I think it'd be really fun that the kids would get something to do. And so then you could go around and raise money for that, and you could raise the money through the Medfield Foundation. And we've done all the work to become a tax-exempt entity. And Abby Marble does all the work with the books when the checks come in, and she keeps track of all of that. So then you'd go out and you'd raise the money from the kids in the 4th and 5th grades, and then you'd give it to Abby, and Abby would make the notes, and then you'd go to Abby and you'd say, well, we've raised $300, and we need to have our first movie, so we're going to rent what movie do you want to see now? Mega something? Mega Head or something?
I don't know.
Well, whatever, I don't know.
Whatever movie,
my daughter
yeah.
was talking about some movie last night that she wanted to watch, Mega something, Megamind, there you go. And so you say you wanted to show Megamind, so that you'd figure out how much that costs, then you'd get in touch with Abby and you'd say, hey, listen, Abby, we're going to show Megamind, and we need a check from you from the Medfield Foundation for whatever it is, $30, and then you'd get the check for the $30, and then you'd go off and you'd buy a copy of Megamind to show at the Dale Street, and that's how it works. And there are all kinds of groups that are doing that. I did it with the fireworks, so that when we had the fireworks, we did it through there. It's just, any group that wants to can come to the Medfield Foundation and say, can you help us? And we'll say, sure.
Well, getting on to a different subject, how do you select the winners for the awards?
Well, the Medfield Foundation Board of Directors sits down, and we sat down on March 3rd this year. We told everybody that we would stop accepting nominations at the end of February, and so on Thursday, March 3, we had a meeting, and we sat down and we looked at all of the nominations that had been made, and one of our rules is that we decide based on what is written in the nomination. So that Bob Luttman got nominated, and I knew all sorts of things about Bob Luttman because I've just known him for a while. But we didn't work off of that part of what we knew about Bob separately. We always work off of just what the people write, and so that's one of our big rules. And so then we just sit down and we talk about them. I mean, it gets a little complicated. First, we divide out the youth volunteers from the adults, and then we just have a discussion, and everybody talks about what they think and which ones do they think would be the right ones. And I mean, I think that when you hear about what all these people are doing, it's just absolutely remarkable. I mean, I think that in some respects, maybe you shouldn't pick a winner. You should just honor them all. And, but that's another way of doing it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for answering my questions.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to meet you. Good luck with your...
Production support provided by Medfield.tv. Access to our community.